Matsumoto is here with that. So you're going to see and hear things today, and I want you to stop, reflect, and ask. Don't get stuck in your head with it, especially when you're trying to think about, how do I implement this in my class? What's the first thing I do? How do I keep my kids out of trouble from the principal and from their parents? How do I bring in community partners? How does all of that work? We're going to walk you through it. We have some experts here today. We got Lucero, last name. Andrea from Sanger High is here. She's been in our program since the very beginning. We got Doug and Shane over. You guys wave your hand over there. They're going to be around here too to walk you through it. If you have questions about any of it, they're going to help walk you through that step. So we think this is going to be different. We want it to be different because we want it to focus on understanding identity and how identity makes a big role in how we get along with one another. So you're going to be hearing that throughout the day. And Dr. Herzog is coming in. Oh my gosh, you're talking about somebody that gets this. She put the State Seal of Civic Engagement together. She is the architect. So you're going to hear from her just some detailed things, because I told her to talk to the teachers, talk about curriculum, talk about instruction, talk about pacing guides, just like Andrea and Doug and Shane are going to do. They're going to get down and dirty with that stuff you do every day in the classroom. Classroom management, how do you work that in this thing? So you'll hear a lot from there. And then you're going to leave. But don't leave, right, thinking this is the end of it. This is actually the beginning. And if you're here and you're signed up with us, Sanger West knows we come out and live with you. No, we don't live with you, but hey, we hang with you the whole time until you feel comfortable to do this on your own. We're going to be starting some really cool things with monthly video updates that Tammy's going to be doing. And you'll get on the line with her and you'll be able to say, hey, how does this work? How to connect that. We have a whole new curriculum that's been reformatted around civic identity. You're going to get worksheets that are also in digital format you can use with your students. There's also going to be activities for you to do. So you'll be experiencing that. And then one of the things that's going to be really different today is our vendors are coming. These partners, these community organizations, they're going to have their stuff over at that table. We want that relationship to be a relationship and not just a transaction. We want them to be a part of what your kids are doing by allowing your kids' voice to lead them. Community schools is not going as fast as it should because I think there's some confusion on the role that the community partners play and the role of student voice. I'm just talking from my heart, my opinion of what I've seen. It's a great program. It offers a chance for some interaction that wouldn't happen. It's funded, not as well as it should be either. But I think student voice should be the primary focus of community schools, not the partnership. Let me repeat that. Your students should be the ones asking the partners for help and then directing the partners how to get involved in the school. So if you have a community schools program, think about how we ignite student voice and build that relationship. So it's not just vendors coming in that are going to leave. You know, they get their 2 cents, they're out. But they're going to be over here and they're going to interact with you. We actually have a game that you guys are going to play together. Dr. John Minkler, co-founder of Civic Education Center, he's the one that named the dinosaurs, but we don't talk about that. He's been retired 4 times. I love the man. I keep pulling him out of retirement. His expertise and knowledge is kind of really the backdrop of a lot of what we do here. He's designed some really cool things for us to interact and be involved in, so he'll be sharing too. So with that said, that's an overview of the day. And we're going to do our flag salute. We're going to have a student come up to do our flag salute and lead us in that. This student is a senior, and she is homeschooled. The whole state, the idea of the state seal is that all students would have access to it. Our continuation students, our homeschool students, our regular ed students, our special needs students, everybody is supposed to have access to this. and we want to show you how to make that happen. So Christiana Garcia, come on up here. She's phenomenal, and you're going to lead us in a flag salute. That'd be cool. All right, cool. So let's give her a hand and welcome her up here. Oh, you're also the new leader of our youth council. Has that been elected? Has that been decided?
Not yet.
Oh, not yet. You didn't hear me say that. Okay, so go ahead, yes.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you all here. So I want to thank Mr. Minkler for inviting me to lead you guys in this time-honored tradition. And I also just really want to encourage everyone to really think about the words you're pledging right now. Think about the meaning, what they mean to you. So with that, I invite you all to stand up, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all, and I hope you all have an excellent day. It's going to be a really, really fun program.
Wow. Boy, you're talking about poise. I could use some of that. No, thank you very much for doing that. Now we're going to invite Dr. Michelle Kofer to come up. Guys, there are a lot of people who get in government office and forget why they're there. There are a lot of people that get wrapped up in the procedures and the bureaucracy. But that's not Dr. Kofer. She's one of the few people I know that has the heart to go with the mission. Please don't get me wrong, she understands policy and bureaucracy, believe you me, but she has that whole thing focused on understanding what the real needs of students are, what the real needs of parents are, what's happening with our teachers in our community, and she has a way of bringing that together to make our education system in the county more cohesive. So let's welcome a friend of ours and a great champion of our students in school, Dr. Kofer. Come on up, my friend. Thank you so much. It's so true. Okay, there we go.
I don't know if you have figured this out, but we're very good friends. He's not on the payroll per se, but that was one of the kindest, most generous introductions I've ever experienced. Thank you, my dear friend. And John, thank you for retiring 4 times. And obviously coming back and finding ways to keep adding value and making good on your commitment to our students, so thank you. I also am really excited to be in space with each and every one of you today. I know that we have Fresno Unified, we have Sanger Unified, I think we have Clovis Unified, and maybe even Washington Unified. Did I miss anyone? Any Unifieds? We have charter schools in the room, we have board leadership in the room, and frankly, that is the basis of what we're doing here, because none of us can do this alone. The whole concept of us gathering today and helping pass along as mentors to our youth what it means to have civic values is that we can't do this alone. So doing this together is very, very exciting for me. I don't usually read a script per se to a small group, but we gave, myself and my colleague Jenny, gave a lot of thought to what you are going to be experiencing today and why it should be elevated and why it matters so much. So I really want to share with you what was on our heart for the last several weeks while we were kind of thinking about being able to be in this space with you today. Again, I am just so happy to be here in space with each of you who are teachers and leaders and administrators, counselors, but the really critical role that you'll be experiencing, especially as you think about and you model civic values, is your role as mentor and role model, because nothing will be more powerful than what our students see you do and behave. It's far, far more powerful than the history lessons of the ancient, years, and even the values that we read about or teach about. It's how we model them. So your role as mentor and role model is very, very inspiring. And the reason probably why you got up this morning, you came here to participate in the Civic Education Center. We often measure student success by test scores and literacy rates and graduation numbers. And to that point he made about being a bureaucratic leader, I have to pay very close attention to that. But I'm convinced that when we get our roles right as role models and mentors, those things happen naturally. more students find their passion in our classrooms, and then they naturally graduate and they do well in school. So I love that we're here and we're talking about back to the basics, really. And the fact that our role, particularly yours, whenever you're interacting with a student, is critical to equipping them to be thoughtful, informed, and engaged citizens. I don't need to tell you, we need that more than ever right now. Civil discourse and civic participation are the backbone of our healthy democracy. And they are they're not about memorizing how government works. They're about helping, in particular, our young people like Christiana, find their voice and know it matters, and that we, despite 35 years in education, desperately need to work with students like Christiana to make sense of the world and to, frankly, do our part to make it better. So I'm really excited to be in space with each of you, and especially our young students. Right now, we're about to approach a milestone. My friend John reminded me of that because I wasn't counting up to 250 years. He reminded me that in less than a year, our nation will mark the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And if there was a better time, let's just backwards map to that date and think about talking about this to our students and why those founding principles were so critical. Across our country, there will be fireworks and parades and speeches, but there is a far deeper question for us as educators to be thinking, and how will our next generation celebrate? More importantly, how will they honor our American heritage and contribute to making a more perfect union? If you can hear that I get a little emotional when I think about it, there are moments when I'm watching the news at night and I think about our responsibility to our youth that literally breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that we're in the world that we are right now and that it's so confusing to our youth. So once again, I'm happy to be here with you, to be thinking about and learning together how we can honor our American heritage and contribute to creating a more perfect union. Many young people are still writing their own chapter in our American society. Some are curious about their role and they're unsure about why the founding variables and those values matter today and how they are relevant today. Other students might wonder if government truly reflects their own voices. Surrounded by that constant noise of social media and the headlines of national division, it is understandable that students might be asking what really it means to celebrate our nation's founding. Yet this country, the world's longest lasting constitutional republic, was built on the radical idea that we can govern ourselves. Our founders admitted it was imperfect from the very start, and many of us recognize that our work every day, especially if we get up every day and go into a classroom with our youth, each of us have the opportunity to improve it. The motto E pluribus still challenges us to transform many voices into one people, balancing individual freedom with the common good. That challenge now belongs to today's students and to us, their mentors. For those ideals to be endured, they must be learned, they must be practiced, and they must be lived. Our democracy did not sustain itself automatically. It depends on each generation to understand its rights, taking up its responsibilities, and believing in its opportunity to make things better. That is why civic education cannot be treated as a checklist or an occasional lesson. It has to be experienced in one-on-one with our students and in groups that really affect their hearts and inspire them to be part of this work with us. Programs and standards provide the framework, but it's really those daily encounters in classrooms and communities that give those ideals life. Standards and programs alone cannot spark engagement. Passion does. And that passion comes from each and every one of you as you interact with our students. You are the ones who show students that their voices can drive change and that caring about others is not an old-fashioned concept. In fact, it's a noble one, and it's part of our founding creed. And if you think about bringing those civic lessons alive this school year, I'd like to encourage you to think about 3 different approaches. Number 1, first, let's let our students dig into real data, like the fact that 250 years ago we started this endeavor. Youth voting trends, participation rates, barriers. Let them research, debate, and design their own get out there and vote opportunities. Let them see firsthand how information, action, and democracy are opportunity to intersect and make a difference. The second thing I'd like to encourage you to think about doing is opening your classroom door to real-world voices. In our communities, in our region, in our state, we have people that are so interested and so willing to come and interact with our youth. Have our students maybe learn who those folks are, answer some tough questions, and model what it means to serve. Even better, consider inviting diverse voices so our students can see how multiple perspectives contribute to solving shared problems. By the way, in my personal experience, when you have diverse voices working with students, they behave better. That's almost something to chuckle about, isn't it? But when they know they have youth watching their behavior, they somehow find an ability to be a little more civil, a little more respectful, a little more diplomatic, and both sides are heard, and oftentimes we find in the gray area some commonalities, and that's all for the better of our youth. The third thing I'd invite you to do is to ask your students to think about design thinking challenge for their community. Have them research a local issue they care about, brainstorm creative solutions, test their ideas with real stakeholders. I know you do that already. You do that naturally. It's not even in the lesson plans. I would encourage you to augment those experiences with folks from the community. Anybody on your local elected role will come into your classroom space and be part of that work with you. They'd be honored to do so. They too are working for the next generation, I'm sure of it. And remember, some of those most powerful civic lessons happen outside the classroom. Volunteering gives our students a chance to see some other adults in action. Whether it's tutoring a younger sibling, serving at a local shelter, joining in a park cleanup, these experiences all build empathy and responsibility that happen naturally outside of a classroom and outside of their book learning. No textbook can match that real life experience, and data backs this up. Students who volunteer are significantly more likely to graduate college and have better employment outcomes. We know this to be true. In our office at the Fresno County Superintendent of Schools, we are modeling this as well. I'd like to invite you right now to come out and march with us. We partner with OK Produce, who's a great partner with Sanger Unified and many of your food pantries in your schools, to do a You Matter Day. And we have students as young as 5 and 6 filling boxes for others less fortunate. They have such a sense of purpose in doing so. Many of them are recipients, by the way, of social support. But when they put an item in a box, they become part of this uniform giving to others and understanding that we're all in this together. It is an amazing experience to see 1,500 students working with our adults, filling boxes for others less fortunate. That's just one way that we work, and we work in community with our partners. And I would love to see more of you and your students joining us. Consider that a personal invitation from me. At its core, civic education is about preparing our students to lead, to raise the bar for fairness, compassion, and community well-being. Again, that founding principle of for the common good. As educators, you hold the tremendous opportunity to light that spark. Every time you encourage a student to speak up, every time you challenge them to think critically, you're shaping those citizens, those voters, and those people that will solve our big, hairy, complex problems. I know this work can feel overwhelming, and I hope you know that you're not alone. I'm with you. John, Stephen, our students are with you. In fact, they're watching, and they're learning, and they're desperate for us to help get it right. It will never be done in one lesson. It will be done in networks. It will be done in working and learning together. It will be done in partnerships like we have with Lorenzo Rios from the Clovis Veterans Memorial District. And my office, you have my personal pledge. My office will continue to partner with this organization, with our community partners, with educators that are devoted to our students. Every opportunity we have to partner with you, to have your back, to support you, to protect you, and to defend you. If you have one of those discourse conversations and it gets tricky, let us know. We will be there to help you with that, okay? America's 250th anniversary should not just be a day of fireworks and speeches. It should be the moment our next generation claims its role in creating a more perfect union. Civic education is how we get there, and we're very, very proud to be part of leading the way. So thank you for your dedication to democracy, for believing in our students even when they doubt themselves, and for never letting go of the idea that education can change the world. Together, we are not just teaching civics. We are raising a generation of engaged, empowered citizens who understand the power of their voice. And that, my friends and Christiana, is how we will change the world. Thank you so much. Yes. Pardon me?
Your son?
Oh. What? You want me to talk about my son?
I do,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, it's one of my favorite subjects ever. So as you can see, we adults are all in this together, and we have dear, dear friendships. This guy is one of my dear friends as well, Lorenzo Rios, formerly from West Point, United States Army, and he chose to parlay that leadership experience back into our community, where he's deeply invested in civic engagement, leadership, education, service, and running this building. And he's my very dear friend. He also happened to hold my hand and my heart as my son entered the United States Navy. He just graduated from the academy, and he's in Pensacola, Florida now, learning to become a pilot. And again, this guy helps me learn the ropes every step of the way. So my dear friend, I'm so pleased to be able to introduce you to this wonderful group of educators.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do, Lorenzo.
Appreciate you.
Lorenzo, before you start, we have somebody that knows you, that likes to say a few words.
I
about it.
recognize someone right there.
Yeah.
Both, but
Both, yeah. Go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Rios. Nice to see you.
likewise.
Okay, I'm going to share my experience with Mr. Rios. So this summer, I was a student amongst 9 others in a group called the ACT program. It stood for American Citizens Toolkit. So basically, they were teaching us about the Constitution, different branches of government, and as Mr. Rios liked to call it, the Declaration of Independence, America's greatest breakup letter. He really just took a whole summer, or a whole week out of his summer, just coming into this very building across the hall and just pouring into us youth. Like so many of our speakers have already shared with us, like not just showing us in a textbook, but actually having us participate in debates and sitting around a table and having open dialogue. So I'm really, really happy to have you all listen to Mr. Rios. I would say from a student perspective, he is someone you should be looking up to because he really reaches us youth.
Well, I'm honored to have that kind of an entrance and a welcome. I served this country for 23 years, and I served it by choice, and I'm honored to have served this country. This country is not the country I was born in. It's the country that I have had the honor of becoming a naturalized citizen and now having the honor of serving it in its defense. And part of that defense is encouraging folks to realize the power that they have and the power that they can choose to give up. You can only vote your way into tyranny, but you can only bleed your way back out should you be able to. I know that sounds actually horrific. And right now when we see the happenings around us and the hyperbolic messaging from leaders that have forgotten their role is to remember that they serve we the people. But that requires we the people to remember who and what is sovereign, and that is here, we the people. We have to take accountability and responsibility for the laws that are enacted to reflect the values of this great nation. Many folks have proposed the rewriting of a constitution that most folks have never read. I think it's time that we reread the Constitution and realize who our founders were looking to for that guidance. When's the last time we thought of Thomas Aquinas? When's the last time we thought of John Locke? And why do we even care? These are old philosophers that are long gone. But what was so unique about their message? And their unique messaging was that reason is part of who we are, and we have to apply it. Logos needs to looking at the facts that are at hand and not allowing feelings to get in the way. We have to go through the uncomfortable process of dialogue, which engages others who have a different perspective. But instead of shutting down the dissenting perspective, we should seek to understand it with an understanding of what we are here with a common purpose for. And we, the people, never posited that we had a perfect union. We accepted the fact that we would form a more perfect union, which required us to engage through this really sloppy process that is not perfect and efficient, but very sloppy in the sense that it's slow And it requires this back and forth debate, and it's good. It's good that we should go through that process. To have efficient changes, you will only find in an autocracy. The problem is it's not representing the views of the people, it's representing the views of the powerful. And I would offer you folks, I so appreciate your willingness to come and engage in this conversation, because the one thing I discovered working with these students was the lack of civility that comes with the passions when they come, but the remarkable civility that takes place when discourse takes place and awareness of the powers, the levers of power that they have. But ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you this right now. It is not what you say, it's what you do. Folks are looking to you, not in what you say and communicate in slides, but how you interact and how you live your life. The greatest values are not taught, they're caught. The American values are being caught by those who are put in positions of authority, and everyone is looking to them to model. And unfortunately, I'm finding that those in authority are, quite frankly, not living up to their role. They have forgotten their role to model the values of this country and to represent we the people, but it requires we the people to engage. When about 40% of our community decides the outcome to the rest, what happened to the majority who never even participated? And that's a scary proposition. But I will tell you, I'm an optimist. I have a lot of hope because I see folks here who have a desire to understand. You may disagree on many things, and that's beautiful. I love the disagreement, as long as we don't give up on the other. The more we don't understand, it shouldn't repel us, it should more engage us to try to understand the other perspective. Remember what the framework is, and the framework does not promote one side or the other. It promotes both sides, but it requires us to do the hard work. And that's to engage, to use our mind, and to use our words to communicate and to work through the process to represent and help us form a more perfect union. The 23 years of service was in defense of this nation, where my oath was not to a political party, and it was not to a president. It was to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest enemy that is domestic is apathy. The greatest enemy that we have today is a lack of understanding of what the framework is and this desire to rewrite as opposed to understand. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, your willingness to lean in and try to understand. And this organization, thank you all of you for being a part of this, but don't stop the conversation. And I will tell you, listening to the students come this summer and engaging the material, it's exciting because the American Citizens Toolkit, like a good toolkit, the idea is that it's not the panacea, it doesn't have all of the answers, but collectively all the answers can be developed. Be careful when all you have is a hammer. You tend to beat the snot out of everything because that's the way you fix things. But when you realize there's sometimes a little bit of this and a little bit of that, that's what makes everything work. You will also notice that ACT also implies that the most important part is to act. Sitting idle does not really get us to where we need to. And right now, more than ever, we need the dialogue, we need the civil discourse, but some of that civil discourse starts with a civic education that gives people awareness of who is sovereign and where the power is, and it's we the people in forming a more perfect union. Thank you very much, God bless you, and welcome to the Clovis Veterans Memorial District.
I know Lorenzo's hurrying, Dr. Cofer, you guys have something to do, but once you at your table, talk to each other about what you heard today, and if you had another question about what you heard. So you got 30 seconds from now. I'll give you 45. Go. Thank you, man. Sure. So in case he had other questions. Oh, no, you did good. You did very good. And I want to talk to you about the 250 dialogues. John mentioned those to you a little bit before. We now have State Senator Shannon Brogan. We have the Fresno Chamber of Commerce. We got Dr. Cofer. We got Misty Hurd. Tyler Maxwell is in this now. And so now it's just pulling these people together have students engage in structured dialogue on the issues of what should America be in the future and how would they like to get there. And we're looking for themes of resilience and hopefulness that comes out of here. We're going to take that, we're going to splice it together in a 5-minute video and produce a curriculum guide so that teachers can use that from March 2026 until July 4th, 2026. Yeah, so maybe we should talk about how we can work with that. And then what we just added recently was also 28 feet high, 25 feet long. Kids are gonna make them at their schools. So we're talking about shutting down the street. If we can get 25 of them, shut down the street, let parents see them, and then in Grizzly Stadium on July 4th, have them all there with dialogue and some message. Okay, we'll talk about it.
That's all civic engagement.
Yes, brother, thank you. 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, where's my lunch? I haven't had it yet. All right, let me get your attention back here if we can. And while you're at your table, I want you to, I'm not going to put you on spot or on blast, but I am going to say, somebody from your table better talk. So pick somebody at your table, just give them that look, and then I'm going to count down, and then we're going to start in the back with Doug and Shane, your table, and then you guys pick the next table that goes. Okay? So you guys got any questions on what you heard? Any of that? Go, your table. Go for it. Stand up, man.
My name is Ben Akiame. I'm at Hoover High School. My second year here. First, Mr. Rose, I just want to thank you because that was phenomenal. As a government teacher, you were pulling on my heartstrings, so thank you so much for that. The thing that we discussed first is, kind of just the frustration that you addressed. Like, we have half of our country that makes decisions for 100% of us, right? And the 50% that don't vote, those are adults that don't care, but they were teenagers at one point that didn't care. And I think it all starts with us. Right? As a government teacher, like my job is to make sure my kids understand the importance of why they need to vote, and that they shouldn't just let me or their parents or their grandparents make their decisions for them. Right? But then, as we also discussed at our table, the uncomfortable aspect is you should be able to disagree agreeably, right? You should be able to have civil conversations, but it's scary, right? It's uncomfortable when, hey, we're going to talk about gun control, and you have one person that's gung-ho for guns, one person that can't stand them. Like, how do you have that conversation civilly? I think that's the sort of thing we need to be able to teach our children. How do you have a civil conversation when you disagree clearly with the other person? It doesn't have to result in mudslinging. It doesn't have to result in arguing. You can walk away and still disagree, but at least you saw the other person's point of view respectfully. So that's kind of what we discussed.
You guys want to add anything to that?
I will tell you the first part and it's really hard, is to echo what you heard. And that requires you to put your ego at check and actually be able to say what you've heard first, out of respect. And now here's the thing. It doesn't mean that you're going to see it reciprocated. However, this goes back to what I shared with you. These values are caught more than they're taught. When you model that behavior, you'll be surprised of the power you give to the person who didn't say a thing, but because that you were able to model that courage to be able to say words that you find abhorrent, but you're saying, this is what I hear you say. You give courage to the one who's standing in the quiet shadows that now are being emboldened to now also do the same. Where we can encourage folks to get from the shadows to now into the light where they can engage in the dialogue, we have done a great thing. And so it starts with modeling it, and thank you for bringing that question up.
All right, cool. You guys pick the next table.
Go right over here.
Woo-wee. Get them up.
We just discussed ACT. How did I not know about this? And why were there only 9 students, right? Like, how do we get involved more and put our kids into something like that? Because that would be fantastic. So, sorry, Andrea Lucero. I was too excited, and then you got me fired up. Right. Formerly Sanger High School, now I'm at Sanger Weston. We're actually running both programs, so it's going to be great and fantastic. I, again, appreciate your message. That was fantastic. One of the biggest things in my classroom and number one rule is tolerance, right? And through tolerance, we reduce fear, which reduces hatred, and really just getting students to understand who they are and where they come from. That's the question I ask. I tell my kids, who are you? Do you know who you are? And then they sort of just look at me, well, I'm so-and-so. No. Who are you? Where do you come from? How did you get into this seat? Right? Because so many people come from so many different wanting those protections, those freedoms, and those things that we just sort of take for granted. And so they sit there and ask themselves, "Oh, shoot, who am I?" You know? And so, yeah, I mean, that exact message that you're putting out there is exactly what I'm trying to put out to the rest of our kids. And so, thank you for being here. Definitely share that information with us, because we were all kind of interested in, like, what is that? How do we get more kids into that? So, thank you.
And that's a beautiful question because that's something that you distributed for us.
Yes, yeah.
So the question is, how do we go from you distributing to you getting it? Because it's dying somewhere in the vine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard of it, and I've been doing this since before COVID. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, for sure.
Okay, you have a comment, Dr.
We can
Neal?
also distribute that next year, next summer's ACT information, we will get that out to you.
Excellent.
Partnership.
Thank you.
Make it
Excellent.
work. You got it.
Makes
All
the dream
right.
work.
Cool, you get to pick the next table. So easy, so easy. Yeah.
Duncan Strong.
Duncan Strong, I like that.
Yeah.
We're from Duncan High School. My name's Ubaldo Garcia. Dr. Kofer mentioned that sometimes more important than our history lesson is what we're doing with the kids and how we're engaging them. And so I agree with that, but sometimes that hits kind of close, like, I'm a history teacher. You know, like, that, I went to college to become a history teacher, and that's what I identify myself as on campus, as a history teacher. But I like the idea of maybe moving from that, from history teacher to mentor. And then it kind of opens up the idea that if they don't learn the list of presidents, but they know how to go out and engage in the neighborhood and help people, maybe they leave as a better person, maybe not a better student per se, but a better person, and that's kind of what we need.
That was beautiful. Thank you, sir. Gosh.
Very cool. That was
Yes,
good, yeah.
very cool.
Okay, you got to pick the next one, Duncan Strong. Whew, right up the line.
Hi, my name is Shalika. I'm from Fulton, President Pike. We are a specialized school. And first of all, I do connect with you, Mr. Rios, because I'm a naturalized citizen too. So what I want to teach my student is we have different routes. Van Center Valley, we are coming, our students are from different part of the world. But what we need to teach them is right now, we are standing on this ground. So you need to respect this ground, this land. Like you said, 23 years you gave it to the country, not for the politician, not for anybody else. It's for the country you are living in. So we need to help them to learn how to pledge for the allegiance first again, I think. You know, that pledging is not for a person, for a land that we are living in, that we need to protect. So that we need to teach them not the politics, but to stand, to open up their mind to learn about the history and not to make the history repeat. Because as a history teacher, myself too, we know that history always repeats, it's a cycle. So we are teaching the abuse cycle to like how to get away from that cycle. So we need to teach our students how to get away from that cycle and create a new cycle where we can have a better voice, better, like rather than a 40% of us, maybe all of us will vote. Maybe all of us will stand up for the right thing. So teaching that would be this.
Wow.
Beautiful,
Very cool,
beautiful.
very cool. Okay, you get to pick, give her a hand. You get to pick the next table.
Hello everybody, my name is Joshua Morales. I am the RJP counselor at Segment West High School. For those of you that don't know what RJP is, it's on-campus suspension. So I'm not your history teacher, government teacher, so I'm not a history buff. But my job is to kind of integrate those kids back into the community. We were also talking about how the kids watch TikTok these days. They see 30-second clips and then they spread those lies into facts. And it's talking about getting back into reading the Constitution, reading what we're about, and getting back to the basics. So what I like to do with my kids, I like to have them go to the community. We do like a Delray Park revitalization. There's a community where we have a high suspension rate, and that park we kind of want to make it a place to feel home for our students back at St. West High School. A lot of our kids from that area, it's about a 40-50 suspension rate, which is very, very sad. And I know we have some teachers here as well that know about that. So my job is to just make these kids have a safe space, make sure that they have a place to call home, and they can spread that among the campus and just feel like we are a community. And I think that's where I'm involved with the civic engagement community as well. I know I met with John, Tammy, Danny. They've been a big help coming out, and it's just been awesome for our kids, and they're kind of getting the purpose of what civic engagement is. So I'm glad to be here, and thank you guys for having me.
Hey, give him a hand.
Oh yeah, we got second place for that park revitalization, so it's awesome that
And what came with that second place? Wow,
a good little check.
Good, that's right. donors and supporters made that possible.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, you got to pick next table. Who would that be?
Hi, my name is Leslie Hugh. I'm in curriculum instruction for Clovis Unified. I'm new to this position, so it's really amazing to be a part of this. Um, we are working right now to get civic engagement up and running in Clovis Unified, and we kind of talked about the importance of modeling and how important it is for our students to see what we're doing for our own communities and our own schools. We also talked about in our schools, there's a disconnect for students where they feel they're not, there's not things that they can take to or have real world experiences. And so these types of things that really invite them to take part in their own community, understanding who they are and how they can reach the outside world once they're out of, K through 12 education. And participating in things like this allows them to understand that these are the things that you're going to do when you get out into the real world. So.
Wow, thank you very much. Okay, let's give our guests a hand. Thank you guys so much again for speaking. Thank you again.
Thank you for what you're doing. I will tell you, you have more power than you realize. Don't stop. Even though you may feel like you're completely alone, let me tell you, when you get tired of swearing at the darkness, darkness will encompass everything. You got to light a candle, and don't let that light stop. And I'm telling you, you are those candles that light the darkness. And right now, where there is no hope, the real hope is found in you and your desire to really make a difference. I'm telling you how you live it, how you model it, how you deal with the feeling that the administration's not listening to you, things are not being done. You are teaching resilience in how you're modeling it every day. You are truly the solution to so many problems, and the kids you have not even noticed are the ones who have learned the most from you. I was one of those quiet kids who listened, and I watched my teacher because I thought the world of my teacher. They were there to model, and I learned so much. So don't give up, continue to engage, continue to model, and hold those that you put in positions of authority accountable to living the values that we all believe in. That's what this country's all about. And the history is what reminds us how powerful and how far we've come. It's okay to periodically look back to appreciate how far we've come, but not to be overwhelmed by how far we have to go. It just, as long as our hands are dirty, it's a beautiful thing in the process we call America. The dream should not be turned off today. It should be encouraged so that flame goes even stronger in the days ahead. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Yes, and I think I would just say yes, and for those students who find themselves falling through the cracks, it's their number one reason is that they don't feel like they have any control of any part of their life. So when you engage them, invest in them, and help them understand that they can have control, an impact, and a voice, all of a sudden we can change their whole life trajectory. So thank you for pointing out that the kids who need us most are the ones that we really need to enjoy. Because we often don't enjoy. That was Freudian. They're a challenge. They're really, really, really hard to work with and to sometimes even love, but they need us the most. And so thank you for taking the time to invest in them. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
All right, how we doing in here? We doing all right? Yeah. I didn't hear, are we doing all right? Yeah. Oh, that was kind of weak. Think about it. Breathe a little bit. How we doing in here?
Very good.
That's a little better. Gosh, man. Where's the outside voices? Man. All right, how we doing in here? All right. Yeah, now we're talking. That's good stuff. Hey, we're going to continue some good stuff here. We're going to now jump into, how many of you guys need a break? Need a break? Okay, one. You got 30 seconds to take your break and get back. No, just kidding. Take a couple minutes, get a break, and then come back. We got to rock and roll it. We got a lot on the plate to cover today, so go get your break in, because Papa got to talk. No, just kidding. Bathrooms are down the hall to your right. That was good. Yes.
I figured.
It's all good.
All right, let's go ahead and come back to our seats. All right, let's all come back together. Come take our seats now. We're going to get rocking and rolling here in just a little bit. Actually, more than a little bit. So, before I get started, I have to ask you a question and find out if you know the answer to this or not. Do you know the new kind of tennis that was just invented? They're thinking about using this at Wimbledon. Do you know what the name of that is? What? Nope. No. And it's something they're not talking a lot about because it's called quiet tennis. Why do you think they call it quiet tennis? They took the rackets. Huh? Okay. Oh, there you are. So here we go. All right, we're changing up. We're doing a dance here, switching the program a little bit. The students are going to share with you a little bit, but I want to introduce a friend that I just met at the Hoover Institute, Dr. Schnabalt. Did I say it right? Okay, from the Hoover Institute at Stanford University, talking about civics and understanding that. Dr. Schnabalt, you want to say hi? Yeah. I said, you got to get up there and talk. No. But I became a National Civic Fellow with the Hoover Institute, and so this is part of learning. He's observing what I do, so I got to make sure I do it right. But no, just thank you for being here. Appreciate that. And now we're going to have some students come up and show us and tell us their experiences that they had at their project. These are kids that will introduce themselves, because I'm losing my voice, but we know who we're going to start with. They're going to tell you about their project. They're from local schools, so tell them where you're at, about your project, and then tell them what you won. No, we don't want to get into that. No, but just tell them that. Okay, so without further delay, Bahu, come on up. Let's give her a hand with that. Okay, you got it.
Good morning. I hope everyone has learned something, although that was intended, I thought I was speaking later. So I would like to say that. I'm Pahul Kar. I'm a sophomore at Sanger West High School, but I've been working with civic engagement since my freshman year of high school. Though I'd like to say I joined our school's civic education program relatively spontaneously. I was at my freshman grade level meeting and Mr. Morales, our school's GIS, came on stage and displayed a QR code onto the screen. Beside the QR code were 3 words and 3 words only that I can remember. Civic engagement remind. At the time, a point that I'd really like to highlight is that I had no idea what civic engagement was. At the time, I was like 13 and only heard of civic engagement in relation to like exercising one's right to vote. Besides that, I was completely clueless. So as I took out my iPad, I couldn't help but ask myself, what is civic engagement?
Eventually, though, I would end up answering my own question. Soon enough, my team and I, of like 8 students, began the education process of civic education and engagement. Through discussion, we narrowed our issue down to the city of Delray, in particular, a park adjacent to the Boys and Girls Club of Delray. As individuals, we all had our own reason for why we decided to involve ourselves with this project. Of course, I am best suited to speak from my own experience. A major part of who I am involves a deep passion for helping. I personally saw involvement within the project as a means to fulfill my calling to help. As much as I'd love to say that my confusion regarding civic engagement wore off quickly, it lasted practically the entirety of my freshman year. As a collective, we decided to form a civic engagement club on campus. Through a vote, I was elected president despite my constant confusion. I really did not know what I was doing. For instance, we compiled a list of concerns that we wanted to improve within the park. One of these issues was like a bridge of sorts within the playground. It was broken and therefore a great safety hazard. So I'm sitting at my desk one evening, typing wood planks onto the Home Depot website on my laptop. Then the thought comes into my mind, am I going to be sued if one of these bridges break on a kid's? How do you even build a bridge? Fortunately, and very much so fortunately for the safety of the residents of Delray, a group of high schoolers did not in fact have to construct a bridge, and the city of Delray handled that issue. Speaking of which, our Civic Engagement Club was greatly supported by our community sponsors. Very early in the development process, our club met with the Boys and Girls Club of Delray. They were a major part of our research process, as one of the members was interviewed, Rudy, the director of the club. The Boys and Girls Club of Delray also provided much assistance with our cleanups and supervision and general guidance with our work. The project, for context, is known as the Delray Revitalization Project. Delray Park is located in a low-income area and contains many safety concerns and an overall unwelcoming environment for children. We, as a group, work to resolve these issues. We are still working on revitalizing the park through various cleanups and community organizing. Throughout the school year, I was in charge of organizing these cleanups, in which we invited students to work with us at Delray. At these cleanups, we would pick up trash, paint the playground, rake leaves, and such. We also worked off-site to improve the quality of the park. Our effort into the park encouraged the city of Delray to assist us with our work. They repaired the sprinkler system, and we also recently attended their board meeting to see what can be done about funds for weed killer and a broken swing. One of our team members has also found that us alone putting our time into the park has encouraged more people to come out and enjoy the space, a major goal of ours. So, over time, our work became more known around campus. Now, students that have heard of what we have done are asking me, what is civic engagement? Why should I join? And I can conclude that I am now finally capable of answering that question. Civic engagement, the way I see it, is the basis of an ever-improving society. Through voting, civic projects, social advocacy, and so much more, we work to improve the conditions of the world that we live in, and without improvement, we remain stagnant. Consequently, we need civic engagement to flourish as a society. Thank you for your time.
So, I'm going to put you on the spot.
That's great.
What's this thing called youth network that's happening?
Okay, so I am also part of the Civic Education Youth Council. So it's part of our new youth network. So we all work together to form civic projects and community issues, stuff like that. So it's youth around the Fresno County as of now. We all work together on civic education related work. So, upcoming, we have our youth summit, for example. We're working on planning that.
Yes, very good. And you're going to have somebody join you in the back. This is Tammy. She's been hiding out from you all. Say hi, Tammy.
Thank you so much.
Give her a hand.
So Pahula is, like she said, she's part of our Fresno Youth Service Council. I just want to extend an invitation to everyone here. If you have youth like Pahul that you're working with. We meet once a month. We actually are starting to meet at different high schools, huh? But we typically meet at the CEC building, and sometimes it's different every month, so I would suggest to go to the youthservicecouncil.com. They actually have their own website now, and see when those meetings are. But if you send me your email, I will add you to our mailing list, so when we do send out the youth council notice and what we're doing and the agenda, I can add you to that list so that you can share it with your youth, because it's a really great opportunity. And our youth council is not just working on issues in Fresno, but they are starting to create a network statewide. We have been talking to youth in LA, youth in Sacramento, and they're going to help plan the Sacramento Civic Learning Conference in January? February. Yes, so it's a great opportunity. Yeah, and so I'm really excited to see where it flourishes. Thank you, Pajo.
Thank you for having me.
So we have a couple other students coming up, and I promised I wouldn't butcher their names, so I won't say it. But I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves and tell us what you guys did. And she didn't mention it. Paul didn't mention it. Did you guys win anything last year?
Yes.
What did you win?
We won the Tower Theater District Showcase.
Ooh-wee. All right, go for it. Rock and roll it.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. I'm Noor, and this is Madison. We are both former Quail Lake students who now attend Sanger High. Last year, we were given the opportunity to partner with Pause to Share to create a very memorable experience for our school community. We're so excited to tell you a little bit about our project, how we did it, how it impacted us in our school, and what we learned about civic engagement through the process. So the impact of civic engagement. The mere talk of puppy therapy was enough to bring students together through anticipation. We had special announcements where we kind of would say things to get the students hyped, so we would bark on the announcements and play Who Let the Dogs Out, which definitely got a reaction out of them. But during the actual event of puppy therapy, we had 5 stations. The puppy therapy station, the hot potato question station, the put a finger down station, the mental health and mental illness trivia station, and the mental health and mental illness information station. Students were able to express their true thoughts and feelings in these small groups since there wasn't as many people, and because we agreed to keep everything confidential and kind of in the circle. So not only were we able to bring students together, but we also introduced acceptance to mental health issues. We had speakers come and speak to our 8th grade class about what they knew about mental health and mental illness, so we could kind of pick what we wanted to focus on in our civic project. So through these speakers, we were able to learn that mental health is just as important as physical health. Health is just the umbrella term. Mental and physical are included. With all this information, we didn't just want to keep it to ourselves. We wanted to share it to our younger grades. So we made little presentations to share in small groups in classrooms from grades kindergarten to 7th grade. We kind of wanted to share the hopes and successes of puppy therapy as well as what we knew about mental health to kind of get them started early on. So not only did our civic project help us talk about mental health, but it also helped reduce the stigma around it. Talking about personal issues would sometimes result in embarrassment on our campus, as it would in most places, but we were able to reduce the stigma around mental health through puppy therapy. We noticed that puppy therapy had a great impact on our school and really helped our students grow and flourish. So this photo up here, actually,
Which one?
The one before. Okay, so this photo up here was actually of one of our stations, which was the mental health and mental illness trivia station. So we kind of had lollipops as a motivator to get students to answer, but it actually ended up working out and students were being very respectful and appropriate with their responses. So this second photo shows Miss V, our Quail Lake psychologist, who came and shared some information about mental health and her personal experience with it, which was really able to help us in kind of navigating what we wanted to focus on. So the importance of teacher support. Our project would not have been possible without our teachers. The constant stress we were under would not have been as easy to manage if we didn't have the additional support of our school staff. Our teachers helped guide us through the steps of creating emails, finding the right partnership for us, and with the logistics of the project. So not only did our teachers guide us, but they also helped create a stable environment for questions and concerns. As 8th graders, we did not have any idea about how to start a civic project, let alone make it successful. We had multiple things to run over with our teachers, including some logistics and also just how to format it.
So sometimes we would pop in after school or kind of come through during recess, and our fear of failure kind of bled into that, but our teachers helped us work through it. All of our questions about the actual day of puppy therapy were taken to our teachers, who then tried to give us the most appropriate response that would help us the best. When we felt like we had nowhere to go and no one to turn to, we would go to our teachers. So we were honored to have present at both the Tower Theater District Showcase as well as the Singer High Showcase. We were able to do this through connections that Mr. Mason had. When we were there, we realized we're here through connections, but we're also making connections while we're here. I feel like being at these showcases really helped us understand the importance of building relationships at a young age. So this first picture here shows, the bottom picture, shows us winning the Tower Theater District Showcase. We were able to win a cash prize of $1,000, and I would say just seeing our project, Puppy Therapy, as the winner, as we were the only middle school there, really helped solidify the belief for us that puppy therapy was a huge success on our campus. The photo above it shows the numerous students that were able to attend the Singer High Showcase, where we were also able to share our information and how our project impacted our campus.
So hi everyone, I'm Madison. So student opportunities connecting to community partners. So we partner with a local dog organization that helped make this project possible. We reached out to them by email and phone, and they were open to working with us. They brought the dogs, but they also shared ideas and advice about mental health. We got the chance to talk with lots of people involved in our school community, including our school nurse, our PE teachers, our psychologist, our principal, superintendent, and our elected teachers. We also work with parents and our younger and older Falcons, and even the people from the local dog organization. It taught us how to explain our ideas clearly and collaborate with many different adults and students to make this project possible. We worked directly with a local dog group, so we planned visits and learning from them, and we learned how to talk and communicate with the leaders and work with adults outside of our school. We learned to divide tasks, take initiative, and work as a team, skills we'll use in the future. And this picture shows our 8th grade classes coming together to design a puppy therapy flyer. The role they play in civic engagement. As students, we realize we have a really big impact on our school, especially since all the younger students look up to us. This project shows that leadership doesn't just come from adults, and it could come from students. It gave us confidence that what we do can really affect our school and our school's community. This project gave us a chance to try new things. We got to take what we learned in class and actually use it in real life. It taught us skills through teamwork and problem solving, which we now carry beyond school. It also showed us how our school connects to the real world. Our classmates supported each other by showing up, spreading the word of puppy therapy, and making the project feel important. It wasn't just the teachers and staff that helped, it was our classmates coming together to help carry the idea and pursue the idea. And this first picture shows, no, it's okay. This first picture shows our students participating in questions and stuff we had planned for them. So, yeah, and then the second picture shows that even though we were all in separate groups, that we could all come together and we can all combine our ideas to make this project possible. The overall impact puppy therapy had on Quail Lake. Puppy therapy helps students relax and feel less stressed throughout the school day. Just spending a few minutes with the dogs made such a big difference in everyone's moods. We could see their moods from being like unhappy to really happy seeing the little puppies. Seeing the dogs and being part of the project inspired students to participate and to do their best. It motivated us to stay involved and help our community. Interacting with the dogs and helping others taught us to care more and to be kind. It helped us think about other people's feelings, not just our own. Thank you.
So, Lore, Noor, Madison, Bahul, these are students, you heard from their words. You're going to get 30 seconds at your table to talk and ask them a question. They are the experts. You heard about process, you heard about the roadblocks, you heard about their outcomes. So at your table, go, 30 seconds. Is that cool, you guys? Answer some questions? Okay. All right, cool. You guys did an awesome job. I mean, you guys are the reason we do this. the confidence that you displayed, the experience that you had, it's just amazing. So thank you guys for doing that, and I'm sure now your schools look to you guys as the experts.
Yeah, thank you for letting us come.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us.
Oh, thank you guys for being here. Okay, you got 15 seconds, and you're going to pick somebody at your table to ask these students a question about process or any of that. Okay. That's my outdoor voice. I'm losing it, by the way.
No, that was me because I didn't know I was supposed to adjust the mic, so I'm like
Oh,
projecting,
yeah.
and I was
Do
like,
you guys want to hold the mic back and forth, or you want to
Sure,
come
sure.
up? Okay, yeah. You can do that, yeah.
Or, yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, and Star Trek. And I mentioned that because there's a connection to Star Trek right here. But I won't embarrass him to tell him that. But in your, never mind, I'll tell you later. All right. So pick some.
He has our table question.
He has your table. All right, we'll just start with Tom here. Dr. Tom, go for it.
Nor and Cass, how did you decide on the puppy route, like the organization that was doing the puppy therapy?
So we kind of looked into multiple organizations, and we had to keep the concept of budget in mind because we had a budget of, I think it was 400 or
I think it was for free.
yeah. So we kind of got it through PTO, but we were so lucky to find Paws to Share, which actually gave us the puppies for free because they wanted to get kind of insight on their puppies and wanted to expose them to other people because they needed homes.
Follow-up question?
Yes, follow-up question.
Did you
This
have
guy's from Stanford. They always have follow-up.
Did you have any people that were more cat people than dog people?
Yes, but they liked it anyway, so I guess it makes sense.
Okay, Tom, you get to pick the next table.
All right, let's go with that, James.
Our question was kind of about the research. Like, how much time do you feel like you spend, and if it's for any of you, researching what project you wanted to move forward with and how beneficial you thought it would be? Like, how much time did you spend on the research and looking into it?
Sure. So our research process in particular, I remember it went fairly quickly. I want to say we spent few weeks in regards to research when we were still in the great development process. So research process wise, we were looking at statistics, stuff like that. I remember Mr. Morales was very big on helping us find actual statistics to support on what we're doing. So that was a big part of it. And then once we had our statistics, it was kind of just let's go with this, you know what I mean? So it was fairly fast, I'd like to say. Do you want to answer that?
You need a follow-up?
Oh yeah, follow
Oh,
up.
boy, no, you keep asking. You guys do it. You're in charge.
Can you repeat the question?
Just how much time did you spend on your research to develop what your project idea was going to be?
Okay, so we spent quite a while on this project, but we spent probably about a week or two just talking about what organization we want to do, and we had to go into depth of research for each organization, and we found that Paws to Share was the best one. So we did spend a while looking into Paws to Share, and that was our outcome. That was what we did.
Can you guys tell me to pick somebody else?
Yeah,
our question was, well, we kind of had two. From start to finish, how long did the projects take? And then, how many students did you have to do this project?
A very big part of the project to me that was really important to me is that I didn't want something that was oh, I did this for until my senior year from freshman year, and then the second I get off campus, it's gone, and then the park once again it happened with COVID. That's actually where we started, because once people stopped taking care of the park with COVID, everything kind of went haywire, I guess you could say. So something that I'm very big on is that once I leave this campus eventually, the project is never going to end. I want to make sure that the project is continuously ongoing. We're always making improvements. So for me, our project is never really ending. We're always trying to find something else that we can help with in regards to this. But so far, I've been working on it since freshman year, so that's last year, and I would say
August, September, yeah.
So we started kind of talking about our civic project around September, October. And I would say we first started off with the mental health and mental illness portion when we were just kind of researching all of that and getting our facts and statistics together. Then we decided on puppy therapy later throughout the year, probably around March, April. And when we decided on puppy therapy, we realized like if we were doing all of junior high, we can't do everyone in one group. We had to split it up into groups. So I would say we had around 20 to 30-ish students in each group, which is where the rotations came into play. So we would go from one group to another, and that's why there was 5 stations.
Hey, you gotta fix it later.
Yeah, so the question we have, what were some of the biggest roadblocks that you guys ran into along the way? Were any of those roadblocks adults that didn't know when to step back and shut up?
So since we did this project with 2 separate 8th grade classes, it was hard to communicate with our other 8th grade class because they're in a different class, which is a different period in a different time. So it was hard to communicate with them, and we had to get our teachers involved to get us both classes to work together. So that was definitely a roadblock. Another one was probably communicating to teachers or other people on campus because they're busy. They're staff. They got to do stuff. So yeah, that was quite a roadblock too. But yeah.
In regards to my project, I think one of the biggest roadblocks was finding people, especially because we come from like a smaller school. So one big thing wasn't necessarily finding people involved in the civic process, but we needed people like volunteers to help with like cleaning up trash, bigger scale things like that. So like that was a very big issue initially, but we overcame it obviously by having our senior class be a big part in our project because for graduation they need their hours. So we offered volunteer hours to them if they helped out with our project. So
You guys pick the next one.
Part of our questions were already answered, but we also were wondering, like, kind of like Paul said, how do you make sure like it doesn't just end? How do you keep your project going beyond, the scope of what you had?
So for us, we're thinking about the civic education group that Ms. Rowland just shared to us. And we're planning on continuing it. One step is through this, and we want to share with you and kind of discuss the logistics of the whole thing, because we think the first step to kind of making this project successful and something to carry out throughout entire high school is to kind of have a stable format to know what you're going to be doing each and every time, and so we can learn from our mistakes that we made the first time and kind of develop a clear idea for the next time.
One more table then. Do they know who they are?
Yes. So these projects are massive undertakings. We've both led projects at the site, so we know that. And you can't do it alone. You also have to learn how to divide tasks on these teams, especially in the planning phases. So part of our question was answered, but how do you motivate students to join that team with you? Other than, senior volunteer hours, but how did you motivate sort of your board of directors there on your team to join with you when they may not be interested in civil learning?
I think this is a very good question. I don't hear this one a lot. I'm going to take some tips from Danny over there. He told me rule number 1 of tabling is that you got to make them interested. You got to connect it back to what they know. I actually learned this at a retreat for another tabling organization. So one big part of getting people engaged in what you're talking about, sometimes they're not going to know what civic education is. I didn't when I first joined, but you want to connect it back to what they know. So let's say you know someone and they know, let's say you ask them what they don't like about the community that they're in right now, some issues, and you connect it back to what they know. That's how you get people involved, in my opinion. So that's how you engage them based on what they know and based on what they have experience in.
So for us to get involved, well, it was both of our 8th grade classes, so we had to both do this project. We could have done like this separate, like the other class could have done something separate, or we could have done something separate, but we decided to combine like our class and to work on the project together. And to get people from outside of school to get involved, like the organization, we just had to communicate with them and get them on board with our plan. And yeah.
I would say also offering and talking about the benefits it's going to provide them was a huge motivator of getting them to join.
I would also like to add, before that piece of advice, we had tabled at our spring club rush. You know how many people came up to our table and wrote down their name on the sign-up sheet? An amazing number of 2 people came to our table and signed up. But, you know, taking that advice, we got like a good amount of people this semester. So I would like to say that that piece of advice is very big for getting people engaged on what you're talking about, whether it be civic engagement, whether it be anything really.
Wow, let's give them a hand. Thank you so much. Wow, way to go. Sweet. Okay, go ahead and have it. What poise, huh? Give them another hand. Go back there, yeah. So I hope you heard some common themes in there. One, civic education and civic engagement is different than community service or just doing a project. It's a lot more work to involve yourself in civic engagement. Just the research piece of it is difficult. Then the next thing I hope you heard was really kind of interesting. It's who they had to contact to get this done. It's not just students doing something on their own. They really had to make a lot of effort to reach into administration, teachers, and others. And I thought this was really cool. Shane, this is not an insult, this is a compliment to you. She said, when we didn't know what else to do, we finally went to the teacher. I love that. Isn't that what it is, getting out of the way and let them do their thing? That's cool. So I'm going to share with you a little bit. And Renee said now I have less than 10 minutes. Or can I have 10? 15? Okay. So
13.
Okay, just kind of give you an overview of civic education, and you know about it. But this process we talked about, civic identity, has really become a part and driving us more and more. It's not what you do, it's who you are. It's how do you get kids to feel a sense of belonging? How do you get them to feel a sense of ownership? And this is something that they get motivated about because they care about it, because you're in it. So at Civic Education Center, we look at identity and think, you got to get kids thinking. And the way you get them to think is to start thinking about civic values, right? And you think, wow, that's boring. But actually it isn't. When you start talking about justice for all, what does justice for all mean in your school? What does justice for all mean for you? And then there are conversations that form from that. And we want our kids to be able to critically analyze U.S. civic values and look where they were not evenly applied. One of the big things that gets me in a value of the United States of America is all about the rule of law. But it's been interesting in our history how we bent the rule of law to whatever political power or agenda had an issue, and they made it happen. Slavery was a big issue, a rule of law. When they came out with the Fugitive Slave Act, so now you're making history real. In 1852, the law says no. But it was the very thing that sparked the Civil War. So history with values make it powerful. We want our kids to look at it from multiple perspectives, understand all the ideas behind what happened in that Civil War. What made them do it in a society that was believing in freedom, liberty, and equality, had slavery exist, and then work with people like these kids did here to find common ground solutions. Okay, next one. So welcome here to the Educators Institute. For those of you here that are not taking credit, Drea, did you get your credits right away? We're working on it. Okay, all right, cool. So this is the Educators Institute, but those that are taking credit through Fresno Pacific, this is SOC 1108A. It's called Civic Engagement in a Democratic Society. This has 3 sessions that it meets with. This one is your first meet in the fall. We'll have one in the winter, and then we'll have a final one in May where you get together for a wind down, and you're going to get your grades then. We find out if I give the grades sooner, people don't come to the wind down. And that's Y-W-I-N-E, not But, so, that's the course. It's a description. It's a year-long seminar that includes in-person gatherings, web-based sessions, one-on-one training, as well as classroom observations, modeling, and assessing your classroom instruction. So we're there. We basically live with you and help you any way we can. Okay, Tammy? The expectations of the course, you'll learn a new approach, and that is how to incorporate civic identity into what you do in your classroom. And that's based on American civic values. You'll guide students to understand what their civic identity is, and we'll go into that a little bit. Part of that is what we hear in social emotional learning about them governing themselves, right? But it's more, it's govern yourself and interacting with others. So that's the expectation. You're going to understand that our founders' vision, as flawed as they were, superseded their limitations to give us something magnificent. In fact, I can't think of countries in the world right now where a democracy, people rule, has lasted 250 years, given all the swings and oppositions that we've had, from slavery to anti-slavery to liberty for all to women's rights to vote, you know, understanding environmental issues. Our government and our society, which is people rule, we the people, we've taken this nation through all kind of turns, flips, and changes, but we have to understand that vision keeps us core, keeps us central to where we need to go. And then teachers, you're going to learn about state civic engagement. I'm on the board with the Council for Social Studies Teachers, California Council for Social Studies Teachers. How many of you guys are part of that? If you're not, you need to be a part of that. It used to be really big here. John is. Heather is, yeah. It used to be really big, but now history teachers don't go. So here, this is for you. You need to start going. Talk about some tremendous issues in there. But everywhere I go, they're asking, how do we get the state seal? How does it apply? How does it work? What are the things we need to do in this class? You learn that, okay? Now, the workshop, you got to be there for 90% of the time. You know, that means through the 3 meetings, actually. And then there, when we show up in your classroom, you got to complete your journal. There's journals. So Andrea didn't have to do this last year because we weren't on it as well, but we're tightening that up. You're going to have journal writings, reflections on what's happening with your class and with your students. You're going to be writing lesson plans. Like Shane and Doug have been doing this for, and Andrea, for not quite as long as Dr. Minkler's been alive, but kind of in that area. So they have lesson plans already set in their pacing guides, right, that help them move along. You're going to be doing that in this class if you're taking it for credit. Next. This is what your grade is going to look at. Your lesson plans, your pacing guide needs to be done. Your reflections on student progress. The end of the year showcase. Now, it's really important that you understand the showcase is more than just a pageant. It's much more than that. It's where students get the opportunity in a professional manner to discuss their learning and their reflection. You saw how these kids were today. You saw them dressed and prepared and spoke very eloquently. We are teaching our students to have that confidence and competence, be prepared to speak in public. Hey, it's one of our standards for presentation. So prepare them, rehearse with them, let them feel confident about what they're doing. So that's your grades, be in their attention with that. But if you're not taking it for credit, you're going to get some of that, just not all the detail, work with it. You're going to also work in a supportive environment with working with us and working with fellow teachers, the monthly dialogue. You're going to be learning about these instructional strategies that we call civic-based learning, how to get kids motivated, to give them the competence or skills they need to present their projects, to encourage them in that self-directed learning. That's what multiple perspective research is all about. You get a kid interested in something, whether it's, you know, how does air pollution affect combustible engines, you know, or how do we help seniors find their password on their computers, right? You get kids into that, they want to know more about it. But let them look at multiple perspectives on that because it makes them more informed. We also offer an ethnic studies course. This is a professional development for teachers. This is new, it just came out. The purpose of this course is to equip you with the needs and skills to design an ethnic studies class that recognizes the 3 important things of oppositions, resistance, and liberty are in our founding values. They're in our founding values. So associating that values with ethnic studies, but also giving you a way to evaluate how effective your class is. This course will include a lot of understanding how you look at your curriculum for viability and to make sure it's guaranteed. So this course is for teachers only. Thanks, Violet. Okay, it's coming up to be offered at Fresno Pacific. Next one, Tammy. Okay, community schools, you heard me talk about this earlier, and I didn't want to put down community schools. I'm sorry, sometimes I get so advocating one thing I forget. But student voice has to be the center of this. Otherwise, it becomes very much like the neighborhood resource centers did about 25 years ago. And neighborhood resource centers failed horribly. We had one district in Fresno Unified where they got two principals fired, and the community members wouldn't let anybody else join. Okay, so that power got in the hands of a few, and they took it over. The way you alleviate that is let your students have the voice. Let your students direct who we get the help, and let the students bring the council together that helps gives you information on community schools. So that's our program there. That'll be available for you. The state seal of civic engagement that everybody keeps asking for, it's very important to understand this criteria and have it in a board policy. Just so that you know, if you're in Fresno County, just last year the state, California Department of Education said county offices of education can issue a state seal of civic engagement. So we're working with Dr. Kofer to put the implementation in it. If you don't have it, you can work through her office to get it. But it's really cool when your district has it themselves. It gives a sense of pride with that. And Fresno Unified has led the way, all the districts in the county with state seals. But you'll never guess, Kings River, a continuation school in Sanger, led with the number of actual students who received the state seal. So it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's the rest of my hand over there. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you this, that 95% of the growth in state seals has been directly related to the Civic Education Center and our activities to train teachers to lobby for them in the Central Valley. Okay, next one. So here we go. And I'm going to go through this really quick. This is our new curriculum design. It's integrating civic identity with the concepts that we believe are so important, a beloved community. Okay, Tammy. So this is from a friend of ours in the Civic Fellow Institute. I can't pronounce his name. Tom? Trigve, yeah. He's got that weird Northern European name. Anyway, so he heard me tell a story about when I was growing up, talking about civic belonging. If you don't understand, where you fit in life, then nothing else makes sense. When I was 9 years old, I came in and on the TV was playing this march in Washington. And it just caught me. I was transfixed, especially when Martin Luther King Jr. got up. This is the original program. Trigve sent me to this, talking about primary sources. This is actual documents that were being passed around during that march. So this means a lot to me. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was way down here at number 16, and they have these agreements that they made, and it's interesting, these agreements are around nonviolence to get their cause out. They wanted to win the nation, not just push an issue. So it's very powerful. This is the bus route getting people in now. So I was just thrilled. So I came walking in the house, summer, 9 years old, and there was Dr. King saying, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are entitled to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And I just froze. I never heard anybody speak words like that. And now I'm a single parent family. We were the poorest family in the neighborhood. The Catholic Church used our house for the charity example. Clothes, food, they did it. But here I was on this black and white TV with aluminum foil on the rabbit ears, hearing this man say these words that just hit me inside. And I couldn't explain it at the time. I didn't have words, but I stood transfixed and listened to him. It was different than I heard when I was involved with the Black Panthers at a young age. It was different than anything else I had heard. I found something in me that determined the rest of the course of my life on why I do what I do. I found a place where I belong. This journey of civic identity takes time. And there are many theories that go with how we develop who we are. But it matters because I began to think, even though we had nothing in our family, that there was something I could do. I began to think that I actually do have something to say that people would listen. I mean, if there was a continuation school back in Kansas when I was there, I would have been kicked out of that. I was kicked out of every school, and back then they swatted. I got so many swats, the principal had my name and my brother's name written on his paddle. Okay? That's how bad we were. I was not that great student. But now they're saying, instead of you being, he was saying, you have a voice. You're not the bad person. You can make a change in all this racism and poverty that we see. Let me find more. Okay, responsibility. But I had to be the one to do it. I had to discover that. And then to talk to people. I had to talk to white people who at that time didn't like me, who threatened me, who called me names, and say what I was doing. Okay? So identity is a journey. And we hear, I mean, you remember this from your school classes with Erickson, Kohlberg, Cross and Banks will talk a little bit about emergence theory, civic identity, responsibility, Sankofa. But Erickson was talking about when you're a teenager, your whole identity is trying to figure out who you are. And the whole idea is to create stability, right? It anchors itself in personal development. Kohlberg is the one that introduces us to moral development. What it is to have this deep spiritual thing, and that's what was resonating in me, I couldn't pull together. Cross and Banks did some really strong look on racial, cultural, ethnic identity. And Cross talks about this theory of when specifically directed towards African Americans, that you come to a point where you realize who you are in society. You realize that you're an African American in a white society, right? And he talks about when you realize that and you accept that, you've come to fruition, fruition of who you are. Anyway, you know what I mean. Banks, wait, I'm not going to get you, girl. I know they tried to hurry me up, so I'm going to quit. So Banks is the one that gave us multicultural identity, multicultural education, everything, but it went out of style when ethnic studies became more of a push from a liberated point of view. Because in ethnic studies from a liberated point of view, it focuses on specific ethnic groups, and those ethnic groups, understanding their intersectionalities, are the whole point of it. Banks was the one saying, no, once you understand those, you need to go beyond that and understand what your role is in society. So our thing, civic responsibility, talking about our participation, learning how to march, learning how to protest, learning how to do all that, do research on things, defines what we do in democracy. Sankofa, it's really powerful, we'll get into that a little bit. And reflective patriotism is where we want to go. Okay, next. So this is big. In all identity theories, they have what happens when you discover who you are, or you're in that process of discovering it, and then when you come out of it. Immersion is identifying with your heritage, your cultural identity, your ethnic identity, understanding that. Immersion is balancing your ethnic identity, your racial, cultural, ethnic identity, with your responsibility to society at large, to our nation at large. What we do is bridge that to talk how ethnic identity and civic identity go together. Our idea is to build a beloved community. And people don't really get into the detail of what Martin Luther King Jr. meant by this, but he said the end is reconciliation. It's redemption. It's the creation of the beloved community. Think about our protests and things that we've had in the last 6 years. None of them have been about reconciliation or redemption. If you want to create a safe place for your kids, for yourself, redemption and reconciliation have to be the key. If you don't, they'll feel like they failed and they can never do anything right. And the cycle repeats itself. You have to show them that they can be redeemed, that you are worth coming back. And then he said that will transform deep gloom into exuberant joy or gladness. Okay. So that's what we do at Civic Education Center with our principles, civic identity, Sankofa, and civic responsibilities. The word Sankofa is from a West African term used by tribes in Africa since before, I think it was shortly after Egyptian, the first kingdom of the Egyptian period. And it has to do with looking back in the past, what happened there, taking it and moving it to the future to help you learn. Okay? So wait a minute, back up, don't go that. So there's a verse in the Bible that really says this. That it's not just for you guys that are Christians or non-Christians, but it's this idea of wisdom, right? And that's what Sankofa talks about, getting wisdom or values from that. We learn from the struggles of the past to define our wisdoms. It says, stand at the crossroads and look, ask for the ancient paths and where the good way is and walk in it, and you'll find rest. Our society has lost understanding the importance of our values. Those are our ancient ways. That is our good path. But it's been put aside and neglected and ignored. But that's where we need to come back to, and that's what reflective patriotism is about. Reflective patriotism, I love my country when it's wrong enough to get involved to make it right. Reflective patriotism is not blind nationalism. It's not loving your country no matter what. No, it's critically looking at your country to make sure the ancient ways or the values are put in place and make sure that we are living by those values. That's what reflective patriotism is, and that's what we're trying to help you create in your classroom with civic identity. Putting this together matters because students need to understand their personal identity and their civic identity. They go together. And it makes a difference how you overcome hurdles in society, how you become resilient and hopeful. Understand moral reasoning. We don't talk about moral reasoning anymore, but this ability to discern right and wrong goes beyond just my perspective. It's also what we feel is right and wrong based on the values that we hold together. One more, Tammy, back up. Sorry. Okay, I know. And then this idea of belonging and agency. You feel where you belong. Agency, you have the competence, confidence, and competence, right? To speak your voice, to be involved, to create change. That's what agency is. And then get informed in your participation. Don't do it the other way around. Too many people hijack our youth's passion before they really know what they're doing. And they throw them off in agendas that don't relate to them. Let them discover who that is. Okay, so the takeaway from all this, identity isn't just personal. It connects us to community and democracy. The goal is to grow into reflective patriots who use identity and voice to make our nation strong. So our curriculum is this 5-step process of just that. We focus on ultimately becoming a reflective patriot, learning what you know, reflecting on what you know, engage in civil dialogue, talking to people who think entirely different than you. But the center of this, the hub of this, is that a student's voice becomes authentic and informed because it's the core of their being. It's who they become. Christiana can tell you, and you saw the other students, why do you think they were able to speak so clearly and so confidently? Because they learned they could do it. It becomes a part of who they are. Understanding what civic identity and the values are the basics of who we are. Looking at community issues not from the perspective of, oh, that's not a good thing, but looking at it from the point of view of our values, it doesn't fit with what we want to do in America. Our whole civil rights movement changed when people saw on TV when people were attacked with dogs and hoses and they were beaten with batons, and you had people sitting at their TV and in other parts of the country in white America saying, this is not what America is. Our values are the very things that cause us to understand what the community issues are. And then research. Get into that multiple perspective research. Don't let a kid speak without understanding all sides, or as many sides as they can, because they're going to be put down and put to shame and embarrassed, and you think they're going to talk again? Had one shot, don't do it. Civic project. So that project is a real world problem. You heard them talking about mental health and puppy therapy. I thought that was so cute. Even when they did it at the showcase, and the more they talked, the more it made sense about the stress and the struggle that happens in our schools. I mean, some of your high schools are what, 3,000 people, 2,000, 3,000 people? You know, they say relationally we can only deal with about 50 people a day. Can you imagine thousands you got to deal with? Good Lord. Okay, presentation, you saw. Confident, poised, and prepared to share their knowledge, not your knowledge, theirs. So that's what we do. And civil dialogue is a very, we can't have enough of this, but it's the thing we avoid. Because we're afraid it's going to erupt into controversy and division and dissension. But if you do it right and structure it right, it's the best thing ever. Okay. We've created what we believe is a transformative curriculum that moves students from self-identity to civic identity, where students apply learning through projects and dialogue, where students emerge as reflective patriots committed to a beloved community. Your job, this is you, okay? Be facilitators of identity exploration. Let kids talk about their cultural and racial, cultural, and ethnic heritage. It's okay. Let them talk about it. They're trying to figure it out. Beverly Tatum's book, Why All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Back of the Cafeteria, talks a lot about this. But there's one step more to that, is that as they begin to talk and become confident with who they are, they will feel more like belonging. Teacher, you guide them in civic participation. You don't, Lorenzo said it well, it's not taught, it's caught. Your voice does not have to dominate their discovery. You're there to give them a little wisdom. Like Shane did, I'm sure, when they ran into problems and they had to go talk to administration. And Shane said, well, let's talk about that. Now they learn about doing that. Be bridge builders. Become mentors of reflective patriotism. Okay. Next steps, implement our 5-step process. We'll help you with that. Align your lessons with civic identity. Start thinking about how will this help my kids discover who they are when they do these things. Use dialogue. Get into the habit of it. We got one of our lessons that structures that for you, shows you how to do it. And then partner with us. America 250 is coming up. We have America 250 and CA 175. The governor's office came to us at the last minute, like at the last of August, and said they're going to do a celebration for California 175. And it's like, why didn't you tell us this before? But they're going to be joining with us in partnering and planning dialogues in Fresno County. Right now, Fresno is the only place in California talking about celebrating America's 250. We have a plan so that high school students can lead the discussion, the dialogue, so that it ends up being hopeful and resilient, but it's honest. We don't want none of this fake stuff, honest with that. So we're going to be doing a dialogue with that, and we're also going to be doing murals. These murals will be 8 foot high and 25 feet long. So we're going to get more information to you about that. Okay, so take a chance, right? It's thrilling to see your kids go on these adventures and these journeys. That's why we're in education. That's what we want to do. So all together, please remember, like Erickson said, who I am is important. Let them understand that. Why I act ethically, my moral belief for this, based on U.S. civic values. Cross and Banks talks about how culture shapes students' identities. Be prepared to help them explore that and give them tools to understand that it's more than just being black, it's more than just being Armenian, it's more than just being Asian, it's being in American culture. And you said it well. The ground that we stand on is in America, and it has its values. So how do we teach our students within that to be successful? Sankofa, well, this thing is really important. We'll talk more about that later. But it's that idea of moving from self-pride to being part of the community, learning from the past. Learning from the past. There's so much wisdom in that. Use our framework. Reflective patriotism is an integrated outcome of civic identity purpose. I think that's what I have at the end of that. So, call to action. Get your students ready to go. Shout to them. It's your voice that needs to be informed and authentic that will create the change that we do not have here. It's their voice. We've had our session. We had our time. Now you are the teachers, the guides for their voice. Do it well. Thank you. Thank you guys very much for that. And I know I went way over time. All right, so our next step is for you to, what? John, take a break. Take a break. Go take a break. And then we'll talk about what you heard, and then we'll come back and get started with the rest of it. Thank you all very much again. Okay. I know. So if you get a chance in your class, you're online with friends. So it's not, it's a good thing. So that means checking resources, just like if the person comes up with Google, see where it's coming from, and someone has so it's statistics are the same way. We were doing this project 2 years ago.
They are going to the same standards now. It's just a rescue point for them. They come, they get some of them get healed and some of them go back to their school. Some of them may need more time, so they stay more time with us. So we teach the same kind of standards, so when they go back, they just have, it's easy transition.
Yeah, all the frustrating, but actually instantly significant therapeutic support more than the school side.
So to see something, say something, John Violence, he won second place at the state festival. 3 years ago, he was Violence Commission
To us, it's very
for about 2 weeks.
not a whole lot.
Listening to others, hearing others' perspectives,
It just depends on the
bringing it down to what you're going through.
Some of they go for one class maybe, so it's a progress. Yeah, they go and then they come back and then depending, any,
Yeah.
Comprehensive side, and support.
It sounds like being here, that's just a byproduct of turning into a citizen.
That's, you've got absolutely right. And the way that happens in school is like we had a change chambers too. We have kids at, it was either at Edison or one of the schools. So this is my section.
this is one of the classes.
I don't fly. So they talk to the principal, they trick guys. So instead of kids, taking out the protest sign, they revise their project and it turned into engaging relationships in elementary school and how to watch for violence. So it went from sex education to this. So they learned democracy, they learned the importance of system, and that's what the state selections and the constitution, the system of government. You'll understand you have to make it. You're not going to go to the dog catcher, ask them about, gang violence in your streets. You may want to talk to the streets administrator. But they have to learn how to do that. You go before city council, kids are faster than more administration. They have to go before the city council. So they understand their systems. So you have to go to high school. So they're at their, and the principal's letter.
No, I'm still home. So I don't go through her.
Does that help? Yes. It can still work. A couple things, and really first I put student choice is key. They have to make a decision. Once they make a decision to do it, research, their parents come into school. Then they probably want to go out in contract and help them. So talk to the business with the district of school about how to set up technologies and instructions.
I realize when we're up, if you just go to click on that link.
Let's do it during Tom's thing. I'm next. I don't, yeah. And I switched up my whole.
Like I do? Like,
I don't get nervous if it's a simple presentation and I've done it, or, you know, but I changed my entire presentation like last night. So now I'm nervous because I'm going to be like, wait, what was I talking? What was my thought process here?
Time's starting now.
Okay, but I mean, is he going to introduce me or anything? Or?
You want me to introduce you?
Sure. Everyone know who you are?
I don't know. If you could take a seat. Are we on? Hello. Hello. We're going to get started, so if you could have a seat. We have lots of really exciting things to share with you. I would like to introduce my partner in the Civic Ed Center, Tammy Eggert. She's an incredible person. She does outdoor adventures, and she's great with students, and she does civic education projects, and she'll tell you more about it.
All right, is everybody here? Is everybody back? Yeah?
Hey, Tammy, I have a clicker. Or is she okay?
I think we're all right, but thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so this is going to be more of like a workshop. I'm not much of a speaker. I'm more of a, like, I'll walk around a lot. So I don't even know if I should take this with me, maybe. Okay. So we're going to be working out of your black. You have I think it's a black. No, it's a white folder. And you're going to pull out Finding the Spark. Because I'm going to be referring to this a lot. All right, this little guy right here is for you to use to journal all your notes in. I'm going to be asking, we're going to be doing some think, pair, share type of stuff using this little guide right here. And then the rest I'm just going to go over. And for those of you who I have not met yet, my name again is Tammy Eggert. I am the Program Director for Civic Education Center. And what that means is I'm your resource person. My main job is because I have been a teacher. I actually worked with juvenile justice kids for many, many years. I wrote a grant, opened a youth center in Sanger, and I've worked with some pretty difficult kids throughout the years. But that was a while ago, and so things change dramatically throughout the years, and so I see you as the experts. And so I'm going to be leaning on you for the things that work well for you. Perhaps you might have challenges, but my job is to gather all the things that work to create an educator's resource area that you can access, that we're also going to have monthly online sessions, but I'll go over that later. So let's get started. The workshop, the reason why, Song, I'm going to call you out here. The reason why we're having a workshop on Civic Spark, finding your Civic Spark, is because what I like to do, like I said, I'm the educator coordinator pretty much, is I like to find out from you, what is your biggest need? What do you really, really need in your classrooms this year? And I've been hearing over and over again, and then the last person I spoke to was Song Vu, and it was the same thing. How do I get my students motivated to want to do this program? I'm going to be implementing a new program or somehow changing it, but how do I get the kids to actually be really motivated through the entire process? So our goal, go ahead and go back. Our goal in the next 45 minutes, sorry, I'm going to have you for 45 minutes, is to strengthen our ability to spark that civic engagement in the classroom. And we're going to balance your expertise with student voice. You've heard throughout the day that student voice is really, really important to spark that motivation. So we're gonna find out, how do we balance those two? So we're gonna explore strategies that help students feel ownership, relevance, and agency in civic learning. So go ahead. So what motivates students? Well, relevance. When you've heard, I mean, even Dr. Kofer talked about when lessons and issues are relevant to what they're going through, they're going to lean in and want to participate a little bit more, because now it's actually something about that, that they're familiar with, that maybe that they've gone through. Issues that connect their lives, their families, their culture. So I'll talk about it in a minute. Okay, so then voice, feeling heard and knowing their perspectives matter. Go ahead and click. Choice, opportunities that shape the direction of the projects. And impact, seeing that their work makes a difference. I mean, you saw the students up here earlier. They want to continue the work because they see how their project actually made such an impact. And then lastly, the collaboration between their peers and their teacher, and working alongside you as their guide. Okay, go ahead. All right, so this right here is the civic journey, and this kind of is a summary of our curriculum. Danny, can you hold up our curriculum in the back? So this is our civic-based learning curriculum, and we've changed the entire beginning of it. You've been hearing Dr. Morris talk about civic identity. Well, our old curriculum started with civic values, but now we've really enriched the whole entire beginning of our curriculum with identity. Miss P over here has an amazing identity lesson, another great resource that I'm hoping to wrangle in a little bit. But the whole first lesson is all about identity. And that hopefully leads into, how does it participate? How do you participate in communities? So I'm going to go ahead and, let's go ahead and click the next slide and talk about identity a little bit. So remember, we were talking about the blend of youth voice and making it relevant with educator influence, because you are their guide, right? So the goal in identity for our first lesson is basically to increase self-awareness and understand their personal civic values. Of course, it helps students internalize the reasons why they should care. I've noticed that when I come into a classroom and we help, with the teacher to model the lessons, and we'll go over the different levels that civic education supports you. But sometimes kids are like, why do I need to do this, And when we start talking about them and who they are, they start gathering a little bit more interest, and they start wanting to show up a little bit more. So when they start sharing their own personal stories, they identify their own passions and set goals for civic actions, they actually start showing up a little bit more, and they're a little bit more present in the activities and the lessons. Educators can actually share their own values and passions to model authenticity and spark discussion, and we usually do this in the curriculum. We do it through reflection prompts, journaling, and group circles. We don't do a lot of our classes where we're standing up like this. We actually get into a big circle, and John's going to demonstrate that in our civil dialogues in the next activity. But we do a lot of circle sharing and a lot of think, pair, share. The next portion of the civic-based learning curriculum is we start getting into community mapping. We can go ahead and go to the community. Oh, I forgot to talk. This is actually one of the activities that we do that actually help the students do an identity map of what their civic values, what their personal values are, what their culture is, where do they see the opportunities, how do they participate in schools and in their family. So it's a lesson. I was going to put it in here, but I'm going to run out of time, so I just thought I would go over it really quickly. And this is what I saw that you did in your first lesson as well, but in a different format, which was really awesome. Go ahead and click the next one. Oh, I forgot. I should have shared this first. So I'm actually running this workout session in the flow of how our civic-based learning program runs, okay? So if you look at this flyer right here, this actually is in a format of a timeline. So like when should we be talking about identity, and when should we be talking about values? I mean, if you start that all the way in January, your portion of your civic project is going to be really crunched. And you're going to lose a lot of time in your research and to have a really good quality civic project. So this right here is a recommended timeline of when you should start talking about civic values and identity. And then I sprinkled in my slideshow here when our activities and our events are happening to align with where you are in your curriculum. So we're in September, right? So we should be talking about identity now, because in October, they should start looking into communities and trying to determine what communities do they participate in and how do they show up in those communities. What can they do to participate in those communities to make a difference? It could be everything from their families to their school, it could be their online communities, their hobby communities. How do they show up and participate in those communities? Because eventually you're going to go into, like, where do my values, because the next one would be values, where do my values, where are my values falling short within this community? And then how can I strengthen that within the community? So I'm getting a little ahead of myself. In October, we actually have a youth summit coming up at the end of October that's going to be talking a lot about civil dialogue, but it starts with identity and communities. And so it's going to be following the curriculum, and then it's going to be going into dialogue. So I don't know if Plane, is she still here?
Is that right?
Or Steve, do you want to talk about the youth summit at all?
Youth Summit is a mouthful. It's amazing. That's why I was telling you that kid changed his idea for this project, because you have kids coming from all over the Central Valley and Fresno County talking to each other about what they think is important. We put it in the context of really understanding what it is to create a beloved community in that time period, the values that we share, the rules that we agree with, and how we engage with each other. So that's a really powerful time where kids get to lead and interact with each other.
Thank you, Steve.
That was
okay?
Yeah.
I didn't go over time today.
All right, so Wonder Valley happens at the end of October. We have already discussed all about identity, about communities, and then let's get into November. November is when they'll start reaching out to those community partners. So go ahead and go to the next slide. Oh, I forgot about this. This is another opportunity. You actually heard about it. Pahul had already discussed it, and I kind of came up and did a little plug. But this is the Fresno Youth Service Council. So from the summit, our council will be coming to the summit as well and help lead some of the activities that'll happen at the youth summit. But they'll also be hopefully recruiting new members. And then we are going to have a new election of executive officers on our first meeting after the summit. So it'll be kind of like introducing the youth council at the summit, and then we'll have our first meeting following the summit. So that's when that'll take place. Do you guys have any questions on the youth summit? Okay. I mean, not the youth summit, the youth service council.
Hey, Tammy?
Yeah.
Heather had some concerns about the youth summit, about the logistics of getting kids and chaperones.
Okay, no, so if you were supposed to unify just really quickly, there is paperwork I have to do at the district level because it's over next year. So just make sure you sign up right away, and we do need to have a chaperone, preferably one from each side or somebody that's comfortable with the students. So something to think about. It is a Saturday, Sunday event, going early Saturday, coming back on Sunday.
Okay, and I'm going really fast. That's kind of why I'm skipping over some things, because I have so much information. I'm afraid that I'm going to run out of time. But in November, I think that's when we want to get into this. So in November is typically the time, kind of the time frame, the goal. You want your students to start doing their research. And their research not only includes looking at these sources like the library, online, interviews, they want to actually start reaching out to community partners. On our website, and I can show you guys during lunch, we have a whole list. We have one, which is on the back of your, I'm sorry, on the inside. One of these QR codes leads you to our community drive. Some of the community members you're going to be meeting this afternoon, they're going to be here during lunch to share some about their organization. But in the afternoon, they're actually going to be doing an activity with you where you will have an opportunity to have one-on-one discussion with them. And they'll be guided questions, so it'll be kind of like a mix between activity and getting to know them. But in addition to that, we also have the drive that if you go QR code it, it'll take you to a list of multiple community partners out there, and they're categorized by the community issue. So say your kids decide they want to do a mental health project, you can go to the community drive, click on mental health, and it'll show you all the community partners that we've worked with, and then more. That'll give you an idea of like who the students can reach out to. So when we do the community mapping, going back to how do we blend educators' experience with youth voice, because remember we want to make it relevant, we want to make sure youth voice is in there, we want to collaborate with the students. The goal is to explore community partners the students belong to, how the students participate in them, and identify any community issues that challenge what they value. Their student voice can be shared. We usually do this at the Youth Summit. We do a big brainstorming session where all the students will just throw all the community issues up on the wall, and then we'll list them all out, then they'll discuss them, and then they'll end up voting on them. So there's like a brainstorming. They vote on priorities, and then they present in their small group, sometimes like a chance for them to advocate with which one they actually really, really like. But your influence basically is where you can highlight issues you care about. So sometimes, kids, and I've experienced this, especially even in the youth council, where I'll say, okay, what issues do you guys care about? Which ones do you want to put up on the board? And they're like, I don't know. And we always get the same top 6. Bullying, drug abuse, homelessness, mental health, And then we hear them all the time. But you guys also know community issues that are important, especially if you're in a science class. It's totally different than bullying or homelessness, you know? You could be talking about climate change or, you know, which is kind of funny, the youth council decided they wanted to do environmental, like climate change. And you know they're not going to solve climate change. But they live in, the majority of them that decided this live in, like, at Fowler High School. And then within Fowler High School, they're surrounded by a bunch of vineyards. And so I was like, once we went through some of these methods, guided discussion, we did the brainstorming session, and then we also provided a list because I know that I live next to a farm that sprays all kinds of pesticides. And I was sharing my story, sharing my experience about this pesticide, and if I only knew when it was happening, I could shut my windows and not have to worry about it. And just because I shared my story, all of a sudden the youth council, that's what they wanted to do. And I was like, wait, I don't want to totally influence your voice. I want you to have a voice. But then when they shared with me that they lived in Fowler, and they really, like the whole, like the community, they have a big problem with the pesticide problem out there. It got me excited, and then now we can work or go through this journey together because I have a lot of experience in that. I have a lot of data in that, so I can help them out. I gotta keep going. All right, so now it's your turn. Let's try to work in your groups, and you're going to select one issue. Each of you actually are going to put one issue you care about on your paper. In addition to that, try to come up with one quick personal connection to this issue, and then I'll go through the third one later, or we might skip it because of time. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes. 2 minutes to come up with one issue you as a teacher, educator, care about, and what's a personal connection you have to that issue. Can you go to the next slide? Go to the next one after that.
Hey, Tammy, do we have any more folders? We're down to. No.
Ask Lene, she's the one that put them together. You have mine.
I have mine, I can do that.
Share at your tables.
Okay, so I'm going to just go over this third part because this is pretty important. And this is what you're going to share at your tables. So the third one is whoops, not that one. So you're going to open it up, it's on the inside cover, and it's asking, do you have a particular teaching strength or method? And I gave examples of what each of those teacher strengths or methods up here on the wall. So do you like to brainstorm with students to rank the most pressing issues? Do you tend to lean towards posing or driving a question like, why do some neighborhoods have fewer parks? Do you like to do Socratic questioning? Like, what makes a community healthy? Are you more of a project-based learning educator? So I have a whole bunch up here. I don't need to go through all of them. But if you have any questions on any of them, just let me know. Okay, and then lastly, how
we're gonna allow you to share for 2-3 minutes. So it's like a think, pair, share, and then we're gonna share out what you learned from the people at your table. Like if you'd like to share someone's story or something that you just learned, a new way of teaching. Ready? Go. Gonna go ahead and share at your table.
Are we?
I just go through it really quick. Okay, I got a lot of information to go over, and I just found out that I'm out of time. So we're going to go make this really quick. So share with us something that you learned from somebody from your table, okay?
Terrible at speaking into my.
Yeah, me too.
So I learned that I learned what a food desert is, and I learned that part of what determines whether or not a school is considered healthy is how close, like the proximity to a grocery store. Because like we're a rural school and there's really no place to walk within walking distance of our campus. And so I learned that that means that our school is not considered home. So.
I think for us, at our table, the best thing I think was understanding our own passions and how we bring that to our kids, whether it be like food scarcity, whether it be involvement, whether it be like culturally awareness, and how we can also bring that to our teachers and bring it to our school.
Well, I guess I would say in summary, what we talked about is that the kids often in our classes don't know what the problems are. They go to those big six, right? And so it's kind of our job to build some passion in and open their eyes to some of the things that we see as issues, because they're gonna go with the trends often. And so it's our job to kind of open their eyes to some of the things that they might find a passion about, but they just need a little extra help to find that.
I manipulated the conversation. No, really we were just talking about, like, for me, my issues kind of, I would say, I guess generic, but student engagement, right? Just the issue of actually getting students involved and then listening, because the biggest issue is that students don't feel like they're heard, right? They don't feel like they have a voice. They hear us talk about these things, but then they're like, yeah, put your money where your mouth is. You know, so that's sort of the thing. And then just talking about the exercises in which we deliver information and share information, bring students together. It's a lot of reflection, right? And looking back to ourselves and our teaching skills and things like that, but reflecting on how we can implement these things and make students feel supported and feel heard. But that's
And it kind of goes back to those 4 ways of motivating: the relevance, having the student voice, your expertise. Yeah, it's just supporting them.
We're talking about how at our school, usually for freshmen and sophomores, we'll guide them a lot more on the projects that they're doing, and then once they're upperclassmen, then we kind of give them more agency over choosing their project. It was really neat seeing the junior high students here and the project that they did, and I suppose it kind of just gives us confidence that if we were to open up more student agency going down to freshmen and sophomores, that they can handle it. So that might be something that we look at as a school, is how to give them more of a choice. So by the time they do get to junior and senior year, what they're doing is greatly expands on what they're doing now.
I just kind of want to summarize what our group talked about, and really it comes down to social emotional learning. Whether you're talking about foster care system and lack of mental health systems there, or facing discrimination coming to a new country. I mean, it's all really kind of connected. And I experienced it same thing with my own children, who are definitely neurodiverse. And so it comes with its own baggage when you come into a school system, and students, I guess, aren't as inclusive as we'd like them all to be. So, thank you.
I heard one other thing that was shared among at least 2 of you, and that was the idea of wanting to quiet your own voice and let the students sort of struggle through the crickets, like being comfortable listening to crickets for a while. I think that's going to be really important to having the voice there, is to sort of make sure that our voice, and several of you said that.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, go ahead and hit the next one. The reason why I was going to go into experiential learning, because this is the way I like to teach. I like to teach, take kids out to see the community. And you can do that by doing walkabouts, but you can also do that with volunteering. So part of our program, we implemented into the curriculum is a recommendation to actually have you take your kids to a community partner and see the issue like real world, and see what people are already doing to tackle those issues. Because it kind of like, I've noticed that students, when they've actually been to a homeless shelter, now all of a sudden they really want to do a homeless project. They've been to a wildlife or the Kings River Conservancy, now they want to do something to help the animals as well. So this was my favorite way of implementing that. Go ahead and go to the next one. Yeah, we don't need to go through all that. This was a great story of a student that actually just experienced, his dad took him to a recycling center, and now he's actually running his own recycling business. It was amazing. I can show you that later. Go ahead. So you're going to be meeting community partners. I've already discussed that. In November, you really want to target that. That's the time that you're going to be reaching out to community partners. There's a whole section on that. We even provide scripts. I like to call the community partner up first and kind of tell them what's going on, who we are, what we're doing, so that when the student makes a connection to the community partner, it's a more successful experience for them. So that they, now they want to actually even, maybe call more. Maybe I've even had students that how do I get to connected to our school board, or how do I get connected to the city council? So once they have that, that really positive experience, you never know, where they're going to take it. Go ahead and go to the next one. The next one. The next one. We're going to just blow through this. Oh no, go back one more. Okay, so the time frame for starting and getting your research done, I usually like to have the students, because CEC is not really going to be, if we choose to have us model the program for you, we don't really model the research part because it's a lot of independent practice where we actually can provide guiding questions for them, but it's really kind of you having the students follow through with that. But what I like to do is I like to say, okay, if you're up for it, we're going to come back in January when they return to school, and if they can start working on a Google Slides now, when they do their research, their findings, and they put it on a Google Slide, they can, how about having them make a presentation to us? So that, because presentation is part of the state seal process as well, so why don't they start early by presenting to CEC when we come back, because we're going to help them with the civic project, so why don't you have them, we could be their first little feedback on how their presentation went. So it's usually in January. And then the civic project gets implemented through January all the way to April. And typically, if you're Fresno Unified, it's the middle of April when the state seal of civic engagement is due. The application process is due. Would you like to talk about that?
Just for our Fresno Unified people. So it is April 10th because that gives me enough time to, I have to go read through all of them. I do take them seriously. Sometimes there's a piece missing. I might need to contact you. But it takes 4 weeks when I apply for the seals. I just have to give them a number. And when I apply for the seals, for them to come back. And we have some early graduations, usually about the middle of May. So I just want to make sure I have enough time to do that. So that's just for the Fresno Unified.
Yeah. And Senior Unified, it's always been they start with an interview, and then Nicole or the people in the district office will reach out to the students who qualify to have them continue that process. I will meet with Nicole to find out it because it keeps changing.
It's usually just right before spring break, so that way we try to partner it with our senior exit interviews, and so that way we're not, it's like a double dipping situation, so it makes it a lot easier and down the numbers and interviewers.
Nice.
Interviews,
Yeah.
it's easy.
Kill 2 birds with 1 stone, right? Okay. So all the stuff that I'm blowing through, it's here, it's the civic journey. I just want to emphasize on this. The reason why I made this is because it's the blend we've had in the past, like with Farber, we've had teachers, they're like, I want my students to have youth voice. I want them to it to be relevant for them. I want them to have agency, but I really need them to do this particular project. Well, they learned very quickly that you can do it with the framework of what you're teaching. If it's an IT class, we can guide them. If there's ways that they can still have youth voice and it still can be relevant within your particular class. If you're doing a science class, if you're doing a language arts class, there's still a way to do that. But this helps with different methods and blending those two together. This one is our timeline of when things need to be kind of taking place. And then lastly, sorry Steve,
Okay.
lastly, this is our level of support. So how CEC can support you. So the first one is a full-on comprehensive support. I just want to invite you to read it, but in summary, it's basically we can literally come in and model the program for you. You do as little as just sitting there. You need to still participate. You can't just check out and use this as a substitute, but we definitely come in and we provide the entire program for you. The idea is that we're modeling it for you so that you can take it over the next year. Okay? There's a few teachers that have experienced that in the last year. So, you know, you can talk to them. Song and Kings River, the entire school, we've done that as well. The level 2 is basically like, I call it the a la carte level. You can pick and choose. I would suggest, you know, having a meeting with myself or another staff member at CEC to go over the curriculum and what the particular requirements are for the state seal, and what exactly do you need? What are your expectations? What are the outcomes? You know, where do you see us coming in to help you out with that? And then lastly, it's just basically like, Tammy, I got this, I know what I'm doing, but I still want to come to the events, I still want my kids to be involved, and I still want you on call, basically. So those are the 3 levels of our support. Go ahead and go a couple slides. Scout Island's coming up in January, right?
Yes.
CCL Summit, where the kids go to Sacramento, is happening in February. That's the next slide. And then, next slide. Of course, our reflection, go to the next slide, happens in May for our Tower District, our showcase. And this talks about, I told you that the community partners are going to be here at noon. While you have lunch, they're going to have all their materials out during lunch. It's your chance to go talk to them, find out what they do, how they can support you, how you can support them. But in the afternoon at 1 o'clock, or 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock, you're going to have a round table, like a wagon wheel, where you're going to talk to them directly. And then go to the next slide. This is the last slide, I swear. Resource Drive. We have a Google Resource Drive where you can see all the resources that we've been gathering for throughout the years. I will send that to you after this event. And then if you choose level 1 or level 2 support, we require that you meet online, where you guys are the experts. This isn't it. You guys can talk to each other month after month to find out what the challenges and what you've did to overcome those challenges, tips and tricks, you know, throughout the year. And that happens, it's going to happen monthly. And then that's it. Sorry, lots of stuff.
So just let you guys know, we will go a little bit over. We'll have a working lunch. Part of our time is just a little bit longer. So we have the kids do a little bit more. So I blame it on the kids rather than me speaking. That's adult thing, right? All right, so go ahead, John. Dr. John Winkler, good man.
So I'm going to be introducing you to civil dialogue. You've already had a good introduction, but I want you to practice. And we like to do it in a circle, and there's a room down the hall. No? We're going to do it here?
Yeah, do it here.
Oh, okay. All right.
We're going to have to move stuff. That room's all set up.
Okay, we're going. We got to go on a field trip.
Chance to get up and move it.
What is it called? Patriot? Is it Patriot?